Hey guys, this is Miss Sunshine Girl 18. Now, I had a request from a couple people on my Facebook for me to do a how to make a halter tutorial. I know many people have made these, but I make them a little bit different than most. So, okay. So, the horse I've chosen, this is Buttercream. He is going to be my helper today. Okay, and the color I've chosen for him is this blue. I really think it would look nice on him. But okay, usually what I do is I will take an already made briar halter. Just a second. Briar ears. Sometimes, okay, I will take an already made briar halter. You see that? And I will, hold on just a second, I'm going to see if this gives, it's a little bit better. Okay, so I'll take an ordinary briar halter and I will completely undo it. And that's how I usually make my measurements. However, when you have models like the Weather Girls, for instance, whose faces are very small, it's a lot harder to do that because it doesn't really fit right. So, but yeah, see, I just open it up like this, and I make my measurements based on that. However, if you do not have a already made briar halter, that makes it obviously a little bit difficult. So I will do this without using this, so I can show you how to do this. Let's see, first I have my little cup of jump rings and chains things, which I would recommend keeping it much more organized than this, obviously. Okay, first you want to decide on what size rings you want. You can use anywhere from these big ones right here, you can see that, ones like this, or ones like this. I recommend using these and for like the whole sides and everything, and then for your ring where your lead rope would hook on, I recommend using the bigger one so that way you have more of a space. And I'll show you how I make my buckles and everything as well. But okay, so first let me pull out 4 rings. I also have like these really tiny ones, which you can see that. There we go. I don't really use these for much, but yeah. So alright, this will do. Okay, now what we're gonna do is I've got my hot glue gun all warm and ready. I suggest using hot glue simply because it's a lot easier to work with. You can use it to put it on like the edges of the ribbon so it doesn't fray, but the only way hot glue wouldn't be a good thing is I wouldn't recommend sitting it out in the sun because then it will undo. So, which I learned that when my briars were out in the garage because I had nowhere to put them when I had the halters on them. So, okay. So first, I take our ribbon, take our first jump ring, fold it over. We're gonna put it through just like that, and then you fold it over. You want just enough ribbon to where it will stay, but you don't want so much that it's, like I'm not gonna pull it through and like put like that much. Just enough to do that. Okay. Now we'll take hot glue gun. Just put a little bit on there because it's going to squeeze out the sides if you put too much. Just kind of press it together. I like to have these different sets of pliers, like for like bead making or necklace making and stuff. So I would recommend buying a set of these. They're really, really helpful, especially for making your own buckles, which I do, but I will show you that later. But I just like to take it and squeeze it in there so it. And then if you have glue sticking out of the sides, if you can see that, see, you can take. Another thing about hot glue is you can easily take scissors and just shave it right off the sides. Okay. Okay, now, since I'm not using my halter to measure it, it depends on your preference of where you want to start. I like starting at the nose, the muzzle. So just kind of rest it over. This is a great way too, if you want to make it for just one specific model, to measure it to his face. However, if you want it to be a halter you can use on a bunch of models, then I would recommend using the Briar halter because it's more. But this all will be adjustable also, so don't worry about it if it's a little too big. I like to do it from right just below the nostril, pretty much lining up with the base of the nostril, where the ring is, see? And then just kind of measure it across. And if you want to, you can hold your nail there, or you can fold it over. And then take my scissors and just cut a little bit, just so, because where your nail is where that ring's going to go. So just cut enough to give it, just like before, just enough to hold it. My scissors are kind of dull, so I need to get new ones. Anyway, okay. If you lose your place, you can just put that there. Okay, see, just like this. See, just like that. Oops. Like that. Sorry, I'm using my laptop camera, so it's very hard for me to tell, where I'm going to be. So I'm still new to this whole thing. So okay, now you're going to. And the cool thing about hot glue too is if you mess up, if it's too short and you have enough piece on the end here where you fold, you can actually pull it apart really easy and put it back and fix it. So, or if you have an old halter that you don't really like how it turned out, you can harvest the jump rings by just squeeze it, make sure it's there. See, sometimes you'll have it to where, see that piece that you can see it on the other side? Sometimes you'll have that and you can cut that off as well. But that is totally up to you. Now for this halter, it's going to be a padded halter where I put a piece of felt under the noseband and behind the ears, so that way, you know how when you go to put a halter on, sometimes when you put it over the ears, it kind of rubs the tips. Well, the padding allows it to where it doesn't rub it as bad, or as quickly. Okay, so now we're going to make the underside that is going to be adjustable. Now, first thing you want to do, I mean, it's up to you if you want to do this first. You can make your buckle first, or you can go ahead and start measuring. But I recommend making the buckle first, simply because you don't know how it's going to be. Take a tiny jump ring, and this is going to be this makes it kind of difficult, so this is why I recommend the pliers, because you're going to take it in there. And you're going to pull it apart a little bit. You're going to squeeze one side down, just very slightly. See where it's kind of like that. And keep squeezing, and you want to move your ring and your pliers so you have the room, but you're going to keep squeezing until that piece, the little piece you're bending in, touches or is close to touching the other side. See? Just like that. Sometimes I would recommend getting it as close as possible. You can take your pliers and you can squeeze on either side to kind of push it a little more towards. So that way, see, it's more like, see how much closer it is? And I know it's hard because this is my webcam, but you're gonna have to bear with me. This is all I have right now. I'm hoping to get a new camera soon, so we'll see how this goes with my tax money, so we'll see. Okay, I recommend, okay, now you're gonna want to take your pliers, and you know how we bent that before? You're gonna want to smash it back to where it was, where it's straight. And now, hold your ring just like you were doing before with your pliers, like where it's like this. And now, and just hold it very tightly with this hand, because if you don't, it will snap out of your pliers. So, there we are. And then just kind of smash it together. See? Now we have our little buckle, see? Now, I know it doesn't look like there's a lot of room in there. It's because this is what keeps the halter tight, okay? This is why I use really thin stuff. So when you thread this through, it's going to be, this is why I recommend putting glue on the end, which I will show you, but I recommend putting glue on the end because when you put this through, it's so it doesn't yank out. So, okay. Now that we have our buckle, we are going to go ahead, and depending on, it doesn't matter which side you put this on. I know a lot of people in the UK or Australia and all that, they put their buckles on the noseband, which is perfectly fine because that's the way things are there. But since I live in the US, I put it underneath the halter, so we're going to, which it depends on your preference on which one you're going to do. So if you were to do it that way, all you would do is just do this upside down. And I apologize for this video being so long. This is just how much time and care I take into my halters, because I just want them to look nice without paying a whole bunch of money for a bridal one. And make sure you don't lose your buckle since it's tiny, you know. Don't want to lose that. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to have to judge this by your eye. This is about how much I give for the buckle, because your buckle is going to go right on this other side here, right where the crimp and the loop is. Yeah. I'm sorry, lighting. But that's going to go where the crimp and the loop is, because then that other side is going to fold all the way over onto the other flap, which is what you want because you don't want that buckle getting loose. So, just kind of measure that out. And once you start making more halters, you get to where you don't really need to actually measure. You just kind of do it. You can do it by eye because you're just so used to doing it. If you have a lot of horses like me. Okay. Now we're going to take our buckle. This is the harder part, is threading it through. And I promise you there will be space for the other part of the ribbon, okay? Because I've done, trust me. And whatever color jump rings you use is your preference, whether you like silver or gold. Personally, me, whenever I do really hot colors, I like doing silver because it kind of just balances out the color. But when I do really cool colors, I like doing gold. Gold looking ones anyway. Okay. Now, see how I've got both sides threaded through my jump ring? See? You're just going to get it where the crimp, you're just going to keep pulling that through until you get to where that crimp part is, where you wanted it. Or until your little piece here touches the end here, see? Okay. Glue. Okay, now, I recommend putting glue as close to the buckle as possible also, because then that's going to hold that buckle in place where it's sticking up, straight up and down, like it won't move back or anything else like that. Okay, so it's nice and tight. See around that middle? Okay. So that way, when you go to thread your other part through, it will be, I missed a little bit, so I have to go ahead and go in there with some. The one downside about hot glue is it's very stringy, so it gets everywhere. Just make sure you clean up the strings so your halter doesn't look like it's had been frayed or anything else, you know. Okay. Alright, so now we have our first buckle attached. Okay. You can make your buckles ahead of time, like before you do everything, or you can do it as you're going, which that's what I like to do. Like I said, once again, sorry for the quality. It's my webcam. Here, hold on just a second. Is that better? Looks a little better. Yeah, but see, you can see it a little better. Okay? So. Oh, and also, make sure all of your pieces that you fold over are on the same side. Sort of like a shirt, where you don't want all those seams showing. Otherwise, it just look awful. Okay, now this is the now for this part you're doing this. You can also do, this is your preference how long you think this should be. This is the part that's going to go threaded through your buckle. This is the part that is going to allow you to adjust it as far as you need it to go. Now, depending on what kind of horses you want it on, like if you want it to be for a bunch of briars or just for one specific mold, then you can fit it as well as much like to your preference. Personally though, I recommend not having it really long to where it's really sticking out there. Alright. Me personally, I like to have my buckles on the left side, so it's like, you know how when you're on, if the left side is the universal side of which you do everything on, so the owner can just pull it through like this, so instead of, you know, but yeah, just size it up where you want it, make sure it's how you want it. And also where it is on the horse is your preference. Like some people like it like way up here, some people like it down here. I mean, I just kind of like it like out here, but that depends too. This is why just full halters are really nice. So I'm going to go to about here for his. You also want to leave a little bit of room too, just in case it frays and you want to cut it a little bit to make it look better. But we will take care of that here in a second. And also, if you have I recommend having really sharp scissors because, like mine are really dull. I need to sharpen them or get new ones because they really fray the ribbon if you don't have nice ones. Okay. Now you're just going to take this, squeeze your thing until just a little bit of glue is sticking out. And you're just going to run the end of your ribbon through that little dot of glue. Okay? To where it's just like, hold this up. Just like that. See on the end? It's just enough glue to keep it from fraying. You let it sit for just a second. And hot glue dries really fast, which is also nice. And then, what I like to do is I like to squeeze it so it's not a round ball. You see? Have it just like that. Like I said, it keeps the ends of your ribbon from fraying, which, in my opinion, is really nice. So, you also want to make sure that it's on both sides of your ribbon a little bit, because having it on one side is kind of counterproductive. So now, when you're ready to thread it through, which it is kind of hard with the glue on it to thread it through, but that's where you just take this and you bend it like that. Like, you know how when you fold like your tongue in half? Kind of like that. Okay. I would have come up with a better example, but whatever. Alright. Now also depending on where you want your halter is how long you make the sides. Okay. Now, a nice halter, me personally, I feel a nice halter goes all the way right back here to the base of the ear, because that's where you are. That's where you are reaching. Like when you have the lobster claw clasp, that's where you're reaching towards is the throat latch to be able to do it. So that's where I like to. So first, I'm going to make sure you're having it the way you want it. Make sure you get all your folds on the same side. Just go ahead and put a little dip glue. Okay. Alrighty. Now, and this is why also having adjustable halter is nice, because if you make it a little too long or, whatever, you can. And also, just remember the size of your jump rings. One thing I've had trouble with is the throat latch area. That piece that goes from the throat latch to the piece under the nose. Yes, I like doing those too. But they have always given me problems because, like on models like the Weather Girl or my Secession, it's just too long down there. It gaps way too much, especially the throat latch on the Briar ones. But that's because the jump ring they use for this with the little lobster clasp, and the size of their lobster clasp also is smaller than what I'm doing. So I've had to kind of compensate for that. And your other side is really easy because you can just lay your sides against each other and measure it the same way. Sometimes you have these funky little jump rings that that are crooked or whatever. There we go. Like I said, I apologize for the length of this video. Shouldn't take this long to make a halter, but it does. Just want to make sure that I am able to explain everything to you so you understand and show you in detail. Okay, see, just like that. Now, yeah, like I said, the other side is really easy. You just compare it to your first side. A lot of measuring. It's really what it is. Before you glue that second one, just go ahead and make sure that your pieces are even, just like that. Okay, so now we have both our sides. I'm going to give it a double check, make sure it's the same. Yep, okay. So we have both of our sides done. Now time for the back, or behind the ears. Okay. First, okay, for our piece underneath, like I said, sometimes it's too long. You want just a little bit of leeway on it, but not too much. I don't like that. Just enough where, like, okay, if you're doing this on a real horse, you want room, like, if you you see how loose this is. You want room for your horse to like breathe. You don't want to like choke it. So we'll go ahead and do we'll do the top first. So same thing goes for that. Make your buckle, just like we did with the front. I was going to use paper clips for the buckles, but I found that jump rings are, like, I prefer the jump rings. So you can make them out of paper clips. It's really easy. But if you have the tools to do this, I would suggest doing this. And you want to make sure that your first bend in that is as small as you possibly can make it. Otherwise, your other side, when you bend it over, it's not going to have enough ring to get to the other side. So, if you would feel more comfortable using a bigger buckle or a bigger jump ring, you can do that too. That is totally up to you. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't, because they're not really. I'm just gonna. You see how this one's all crooked? See, it's a little bit crooked. Doesn't have to be perfect. Really, really, it doesn't. Just enough to get your line and everything through. Alright. You can make your, personally for me, I like having the buckle on this side. Like I said, same thing, you can reach over instead of reaching under. Yeah. Anyway. Alrighty. To be honest, I request measuring over using the briar halters. So like I said, the throat latch and it ends up just way too big, especially if you have, your models where the horse is bending his neck down like the Andalusian mold. It's very, very hard to make that not look like it's puckering a lot. Yeah. But for your piece that goes through the buckle, like I said, depends on your preference on how long you want it. Like I said, and if you make it too long, you can always cut some off at the end. And same thing with the end. You want to do some glue. You really don't want that fraying. That's the one thing bad about ribbon. Suede and all that doesn't give you that much trouble, but suede's a little thick depending on which one you get. You can use the same process for other halters. However, your buckles might have to be, you might have to use a little bit bigger of a jump ring because of the width of the leather or suede or whatever you decide to use. But it's still the same idea. You can always make a leader up to match if you like, but I don't really do that. But you can. It's very simple to do. If you have the needle nose pliers, it really helps because you can just put those through the buckle while you're gluing it, so it really helps hold that. Like I said before, sorry this is so long. Really shouldn't be this long. Okay. Now we have all of our top pieces done. Okay. Now time to do the throat latch. Okay. I can also say that too, if you want to, for the piece. Show you here. I'll show you. It'll be the last thing I show you. Or one of the last things I'll show you. Okay, first, I want to go ahead and find the clasp you want to use. Find the size of ring you want to use. My suggestion, is use a smaller one because then it's going to make it look less bulky. Open it up, put your clasp on it, close it. If you're having trouble close it, you can use the pliers. It's also very useful, like I said, because sometimes you get those jump rings that are stuck together or they're really bent. Go ahead and put it on the end of your clasp. Okay, and you want your fold on the inside of your clasp. See, inside. You want it facing the inside. You don't want it sticking out because then on a real horse, this thing, your little handle here, would rub against the horse and it would end up falling off. You don't want that. If you want to, you can clip it on the one side. And then kind of take a look. See how long it's going to be. Say, give yourself some leeway so the horse isn't, you're not choking it. But obviously, you know what I mean, it's a model. It's a little bit of trouble. Okay, and after we do this piece, if you want to, you can stop here, or you can choose to do the middle, because I know some people don't do this, but you can, or you can choose to do the middle piece that connects the throat latch to the piece that goes underneath the nose, which also holds your ring where you. Okay, my suggestion is go ahead and thread everything through your buckles so that you have more of an idea. except the front. You don't want, because I'll show you why. Okay. First, what you do, take your big ring for your hook, open it up, put your little ring on it, just like that. Close it. Go ahead and take a piece of thread or ribbon, hook it on your little ring. Okay. Now, you want to take this piece. It's the same thing with your piece that holds your buckle. You kind of just have to know it. Kind of do it by eye here. Also, you can kind of measure where it's going to be. So about like that. Bend it. Cut it. Okay, now, so you see the piece that is attached to your clasp, your lobster clasp, thread it through that. Make sure, obviously, you want your fold on the same side as all your other ones. You want to keep this open so it can freely slide on the throat latch. So your glue is only going to go where it connects to the other piece, to where your rings are. You do not need a lot of glue for this. Okay, see? So now, see how it can move freely now? Okay. And you take the bottom part of your noseband, throw it through your big ring, pop it through your buckle, like I said, the buckles are supposed to be tight. That's why these are made so small. Let's do the glue on this one again. Sorry guys. Like I said, video should not be this long. Sorry, bub. Okay? Yeah, he's alright. Okay. If you have too much glue on the end, you can just kind of cut it off. If you can't get it through your buckle, what you can do, if you can get just a corner through, take your needle nose pliers, grab it, and pull it through. Like I said, this is tight, so like, you know, if you play with your briars or whatever, so when you pull on it, it doesn't come undone. If it's too loose, it's going to come undone. Okay. Now, we take it to our horse, undo the lobster clasp, make sure everything fits correctly, and slide it on. want to use a smaller ring for that. You don't have to have a really big. You can just use the same side you used on the sides for the where your lead rope goes. So that way it's not really, like I said, bulky and unattractive. You don't want anything real bulky on these guys. There. See, that looks a little better. Then you just adjust it to where it needs to be, where you want it. Go. And see, now we have a nice halter. Like I said, sorry about the length of the video. It should not be this long. Okay, now what you're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unlash it from our horse. This is why, if you're doing a padded halter, it's nice to make it for just one specific mold or one specific horse. Because now we're going to take our felt. I'm going to cut about a couple inches of. And you just want it to be very thin. You want it to be as thin, maybe just a little bit wide, maybe a little bit wider than your thread or your ribbon you're using. Cut it as even as possible. And it's hard sometimes. I have trouble sometimes. Okay, that should be enough. See? It's about like this. Now, just take it to your halter. First, you want to lay it underneath where your seams are. If you want to, you can undo your halters. That's also an option. I just turn mine inside out a little bit. See, then that is just gonna sit right like that and be a little pad for our horse. So, measure it, and I wouldn't need that much. Cut it. Go ahead and put your glue on. You can apply it to the halter or to the felt, whichever you feel is necessary. Press it. See, so it's just like that. And if you want to, you can go in on the corners. Oops, didn't attach fast enough on this one. Just a second. The thing about this, you gotta be real fast, otherwise your felt won't stick. Just kind of smush it down. Okay, now if you want to, you can go in and trim off your corners so they're not so sharp looking. My goodness. Just make sure it's really attached on there. You don't want it coming off. There we go. have our noseband. It's going to be obvious, it's going to be a little stiff because of the felt, but now with our back end, the reason why I had you adjust it beforehand is because you only want your felt from the jump ring to the buckle. You don't want it, because if it's on everywhere else, your strip isn't going to go through the buckle. It'll be too thick. So this is also for looks. It just looks really nice if you want your halter to this way. You want to make sure you can see the felt on both sides of the halter. You don't want it too much on one side. Like I said, make sure it's glued down there. Need more glue, then add more glue. See, originally when I did these, I didn't adjust the halter beforehand, so I had to just cut off felt, and that's just kind of a little bit wasteful to me. So if it's not even, obviously you want to fix that as much as you can. Round off your corners. At least so they're not sticking, not really bad. See? Like you can see right here, it's a little uneven. You can hardly see it. That's what I mean. You want that to be. And like I said, it's much harder to fix felt because you can use felt, you can use any like cotton stuff. I recommend felt because it's already in sheets. Just slip it back on it. And you can also make a padded halter for like, you know, like the trailering set the Briar has. You can make a nice padded halter with that. There. You can loosen it up just a little bit because that padding is going to add some more thickness to it. Yeah, and then, just a second, I got some glue. Now we have a nicely padded halter. See? Well, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I'm sorry about the movie taking this so long. I know, but thank you, and hope you enjoyed this.